All right, there are hundreds of thousands of people that run marathons every single year, right? But one question I've always had is how the fuck do you run a marathon? Now, for some context, for over 10 years of my life, up until very recently, I was suffering with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. 24 hours a day, there was no escape from it. And so, this means that running was not even a thought to be possible. However, during my healing journey while I was in Australia, I wanted to become a runner because I've never been able to do it properly. I've never even considered it to be an option for me. But as I was healing and really changing my paradigm and coming out of this scarcity mindset and this pain and this fatigue, I decided I wanted to be a runner. And so during that time, this was around 8 to 10 months ago, something like that, I decided I wanted to be a runner. And so I joined a running club. I started off very lightly. I didn't join the running club straight away. I went for some light jogs out on the grass because I tried on concrete and it was really too much pressure and impact on my knees on the concrete. So I was doing some running on the grass, doing some barefoot running. And then I joined a running club, which was awesome because I met a whole bunch of different people. I was able to have that consistency and that accountability within my training. And then I ended up leaving Australia and came back to England. I did a couple of runs while I was back in England. Really nothing over 5K. That was sort of the benchmark of what I was capable of running at that time. And then I moved to Costa Rica. And this is where my running really started to take a dip. Partly because where I was staying, it was really hilly everywhere, and it just was not appealing to be doing hill sprints and really like steep hills as well. But mostly because I was being lazy and I was just allowing my health to slip. I wasn't prioritizing my own health, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It was me just being lazy. However, I'm now back in the UK, and I've set this as my defining goal for this year. My defining physical goal for this year is to be able to run a marathon. Not just to be able to run the marathon, but to run the marathon. And also for some context, up until this point, the longest run I've ever done was a 9-kilometer run. It took me just over 50 minutes to do. It was during my first session at the running club when I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. And it was running for 25 minutes one way and then running for 25 minutes back. And it was a killer. That was one of the darkest places I've ever been to in my life. I told myself I wasn't going to quit, and I didn't. But man, it was tough. It was really bad. I went to some seriously dark places back on that run by myself because obviously we started in the group as we were going, and I started off all pumped up, like, yeah, this running club. It's only 25 minutes of running. And I was talking to my friend who invited me to the run club. I'm very grateful for that, Aiden. And as we started getting to the end of the outward 25 minutes, I was like, man, I'm starting to really fall back here. And so he carried on, and then we turned around and we went all the way back to the start again. And it was a lonely, painful, challenging, dark final at least 15 minutes of that run. So that's just sort of some context of where I'm at. The longest run I've ever done is 9 kilometers, which is just less than a quarter of what I need to run for this marathon. Apart from that, everything else I've done is maximum 5 kilometers. So I'm really coming into this with no experience or knowledge or anything specific, right? I'm just someone who has basically now just started running, just been able to start running. So with all of this, it brings the question, how do you actually run a marathon when you've never ran anywhere close to that, and when you ran less than a quarter of that distance you want to run, you almost died? Let's have a look. So step one for me is to set the goal. Now, I work really well off of goals. When I don't have a clear goal to work towards, I feel very chaotic and disorganized, and it's really easy for me to drift. But if I have a clear goal, then I do everything towards that goal to achieve it. And so setting the goal, yes, it's important, but it also has to be realistic as well. So if I was to set myself a goal to run a marathon by next week, it's not going to happen. 3 months time, it's most likely not going to happen. Yes, I may be able to do it, but I want to run this marathon comfortably and without stopping. Those are my two criteria. Now, when I say comfortably, it doesn't mean like, yeah, I'm going to be absolutely pumped. Yes, I'm going to be tired by the end of it, obviously, but I want to be comfortable with it. I don't want to be dying out of breath after the first 10 kilometers and really just be struggling the whole way. I really want to enjoy the process no matter how much I don't enjoy running. So that was my goal, right? 1st of December 2025 is when I want to run the marathon, is when I'm going to run the marathon. Now, there aren't any official marathons around this sort of time, but that doesn't bother me. It's a personal goal that I have that I want to achieve, and I can run official marathons and other things later on down the line, but this is just for me, and so I don't care if there's a medal or not. I'm going to make myself a medal. Now, step number 2 for me was to speak to people who actually run, right? Whether they run marathons, half marathons, Ironman, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I just want to speak with people who run. And so luckily my cousin actually runs. He is training for Ironmans and has given me lots of great advice for it. I also have Nick, my business partner on Cure to Freedom, also set himself this goal of running a marathon many years ago, and so he's helping me through it. And it's really, really enlightening and empowering to speak to people in the same position who have set this goal to run this long distance that they've never done before, and speak to them, right? And they will help you through the process, guide you through it when creating your plan and when just general running tips. So that was number 2. Speak to the people you know that are runners, have run a marathon before, whatever it may be, right? Just speak to the people who are doing this. Step number 3 to run this marathon is to create the actual plan itself. So what is going to take me from being where I'm at right now until running that marathon on December the 1st. And so I created a daily plan every single day from last Monday, which was the 7th or 6th, I can't remember, all the way up until December the 1st. Now there's 4 aspects of this plan, which I bared in mind the whole time. And the first one of this being that it needs to start off by just focusing on building the habits. Now, I've never been a runner, right? So I don't have this innate habit of running multiple times a week. But this is what I need, right? If I want to become a high-level endurance athlete, I need the habits of doing endurance training multiple times a week. So where I'm starting at right now, yes, I can run a 5K, but I'm not going to be here just testing my limits from the get-go, right? I want to start small and just build the habits, get used to it, build the consistency slowly over time. The most important thing for me at the moment is just to be having those 3 running days per week. So what I did was I started with a 2K run. On the first day of my training was a 2-kilometer run where I walked for 100 steps and then jogged for 100 steps, walked for 100 steps, jogged for 100 steps. Now, that was relatively easy, but that doesn't matter. The workload and the intensity of the training does not matter at all to me right now. The fact that I just got up and I went for my run is the most important thing. From there, I'm building progressively, which is step number 2, right? Progressive building throughout the training, okay? It shouldn't be, okay, I'm doing a 2-kilometer run this week and then we're going to do a 10K run next week. No, it's building up from 2K. I think I don't do my first 5K run until the end of this month. I just want to build the habits, progressively build, right? I'm not trying to burn myself out instantly. So progressively building is the second aspect. Now the third aspect is a mixture of training. So this means not running just long runs the whole time. I want to do interval training, hill sprints, some cycling, also keeping up with my yoga and my stretching, some strength training like squats and other exercises for my lower body. Super important. You don't want to just be a one-trick pony. I really want to take a holistic approach. Yes, my only goal is to run this marathon, but I also understand that it takes a fit body and a adaptable body to be able to achieve it. So they'll all be worked into my plan. And then the fourth thing I took into consideration when I was making this plan was that I need to take some serious time to create this. I understand my tendency to drift when I don't have a clear plan set in place. And so what I've done is I've spent the time, invested the time into creating this plan every single day from last Monday until December the 1st. So all I do now is I wake up, I look what I need to do, and I do it. Even looking at some of the numbers later on down the months, it's kind of intimidating. But I understand I've done it in a realistic way where I'm not starting with these big numbers. And so yes, it may be intimidating seeing them, but I know because of the progressive building, I will get there. I'm just trying to be realistic with the whole process, to be honest, because this is a huge goal for me. Like I said, I couldn't even support my own body weight standing up like just over a year ago, right? And so the fact that I'm able to run now is beautiful for me, and I know that pushing myself too quickly, too fast is just going to put me off, it's going to injure me, it's going to make me hate running. It's not like I hate running, but it's not the most enjoyable thing to me anyway, especially right now, because I'm starting this plan in January, and in the UK here it is the middle of winter. And so this really is a willpower tester and trainer at the same time as me learning how to run and training for a marathon. So while it may be intimidating seeing all these huge numbers, like multiple 15, 16, 17 kilometer runs, it's exciting. Because up to this point now, I'm a week in, and my run yesterday, I'm actually already seeing noticeable improvements in my breathing, in my stability, in my strides, power. It's amazing to see. And I know that I'm more than capable of achieving anything I put my mind to. So I created the plan, I invested the time into creating this plan, and I've let go from all of the numbers. I'm not worried or questioning anything later down in the line. We deal with that then, right? It can seem overwhelming because you're creating it now, but that's months and months and months ahead. Now all I do is I wake up, look at what I'm doing for today. Today is a rest day for me, but tomorrow I have a run walk 2.5 kilometers where I run for 2 minutes and then walk for 1 minute. And that's it. Simple as that, right? I'm really not trying to overwhelm my body or stress my body or burn out at all. I'm more than capable of doing that, maybe even twice or whatever it is, but I'm not going to do that, right? It's all about building the habits from now on. So, as with pretty much most things in life, I'm not worrying about the how, okay? I've created the plan and now I'm following it through step by step. I understand that things might change. I understand that I'm going to learn a whole lot more about myself and running and everything to do with what is to come. I'm completely aware of that. But the most important thing is I have the goal and I'm actively doing stuff towards it. And that applies to everything you could ever want in life. Have the goal and actively do things towards it. But as I mentioned before, I'm not a runner. I've never been a runner. I've never looked into running. And so I really am coming into this as a complete and total beginner with really no idea about the technicalities or the techniques or specifics about anything, right? When it comes to hydration or the actual running or the routes or the pacing or anything, right? And so if you have any advice at all for a complete beginner like me, or you maybe want to share your story, anything like that, leave it in the comment section down below and I will be more than happy to watch anything or read any advice that you have for me. I'll be documenting a lot of this process, whether it's here on YouTube or on the Cure to Freedom Instagram page, which I will link down below as well. Apart from that, this is how the fuck I am going to run a marathon. Stay blessed.